Here's how I know that you're struggling financially. Here's how I know. In 2011, when I decided to start a business, what caused me to decide to start a business was I did some research financially, and I wondered why, after 10 years in my career, which was a good career as a police officer, I was making good money, why was I struggling? And I was in a public finance class at the University of Kansas working on my master's degree, and I did an independent study, and I discovered some very alarming truths about the financial system in America and where everybody in the middle class is headed, and I mean everybody. So I want you to take a look at this stat. This is from the Social Security Administration. Okay, this is from our government. All right, this is a good source of information. I want you to take a look at this chart. This was 2010. 75% of people age 65 and older were making less than $50,000 a year. 75% of people 65 and older living off less than $50,000 a year. Now in 2011, I was making $50,000 a year and I wasn't able to hack it. I had no other sources of income. I was not making it. And so I know that if you're in the American middle class right now, you are not making it. You're not. So let's just be honest about it. We're not making it. If all we do is go to our job, it ain't happening for us. And I'm going to explain that. Let's take a look at our incomes by source. And this also is from the Social Security Administration. All right? Now, forgive the fact that I can't draw a perfect circle. Okay? But I want you to take a look at this. This is your income by source. This is where people get their money. Notice that the bulk of that money comes from earnings and then in retirement from your pensions or your Social Security income. Okay? And then take a look at the fact that if we take away Social Security, which we know is going away and is unsustainable, we just lost 37% of our income there. And then if we take away pensions, which is another 19%, what's that leave you with in retirement? Because we know pensions are going away too, right? Employers are stripping back benefits because they're finding they can't afford to pay out the pension benefits that they promised. The day of secure pensions is a bygone era. So that leaves us with the bulk of our money in retirement coming from earnings and asset income. Now take a look at this section, asset income, which is 11.4%. Why in the world is that all that people are making? We only have 11.4% of our income in retirement coming from assets. Why would we set ourselves up like that? Assets are something that we own. That's the only thing we own. We don't own Social Security. We don't own pensions. And we don't own our job. We don't own any of that. Assets are the one thing you can own. So why in the world would we not be accumulating assets that pay us income? It doesn't make any sense. And you know what people dismiss the idea of assets with? They say, well, that's too risky. Maybe I should own cash flow real estate. Nah, that's too risky. Maybe I should start a business. Nah, that's too risky. No, you know what's risky? What's risky is relying on 37% of your income coming from the government that continues to pull back Social Security benefits in a system we know is not sustainable, and entrusting your retirement security to a pension you've been promised, as we've seen with GM and plenty of others. I'm only giving one example, okay? But as we saw with GM and many others, your pension is not secure. And then your earnings, okay? Let's just assume you absolutely love your job and you never want to leave your job. You still have to stay healthy enough to do it. And do you want to spend your years from age 65 and beyond, instead of spending time with your family, instead of traveling and having all the experiences you've always wanted, would you rather spend your time at work? Really? No, of course not. So we're going to talk about that little section there called asset income. A business is an asset. As long as you do it right, if you have systems in place and people in place, you have a cash flowing asset with a business. I'm telling you, if you're on here now and you haven't started a business, you absolutely need to. That's going to be the quickest way that you can bump up your income. So in addition to the Social Security stats that I just gave you that came from the Social Security Administration, surveys have been done. This is from a MetLife survey in 2011. People that actually are comfortable with the amount of money that they're going to have as income in retirement. Now we're looking at retirement, okay? We're looking at retirement. However, this applies no matter what stage of life you're in, okay? Confidence in having enough money to live comfortably, all right? Take a look at these categories. A guaranteed income stream. 68% of people said, that is how I have confidence that I'm going to have enough money to live comfortably, is I have a guaranteed income stream. Well, what's that come from? That comes from cash flowing assets like businesses, like real estate, like investments. Okay? 51% of people said sufficient savings. So clearly, being able to save money is critical to having enough to live comfortably also. How are you going to save money when you're not making it? Comes back to a guaranteed stream of income, that top category. Assets you can liquidate. That was 35% of people that they surveyed that said, hey, I know I'm going to have enough to live comfortably. I've got assets I can liquidate. Business is an asset. Cash flowing investments are an asset. You need to own assets. And then finally, 26% said, well, I'm healthy, so I can work if necessary, so I can produce a stream of income that way. Okay, sure, but is that really how you want to spend your time? So clearly, by like a huge margin, having a guaranteed stream of income, almost 70% of the people they surveyed said you got to have a guaranteed stream of income to know that you're going to be okay and be able to live comfortably. So, knowing that, again, if you're on this right now and you haven't started a business, my question is why? Now, I can tell you up until 2011, before I had a business, my income would usually increase somewhere between 2% and 5% every year, depending on how generous my employer wanted to be. 2 to 5% a year. How much is inflation? On average, we can say about 3% a year. So, on an average year, I was barely keeping up with inflation and still treading water financially and really not making it. Now, in 2011, I started a business. Some things changed. And guys, I have not had a massive level of success. It hasn't been massive. I've got mentors that their income is increased by hundreds of percent. But I took time to do the math today from 2011 up until now. How has my income increased year over year? So you can see how I went from an average of 2 to 5% a year of income increase, most of those years being on the lower end of that scale, to what's happened with me since 2011. 2011 to 2012, take a look at that, almost a 30% increase in income. 2012 to 2013, 19.4%. I had a really good year, 2013 to 2014, almost a 40% increase in income. And then this year, the numbers aren't out. The numbers aren't solid yet because today's the last day of the year and I've got to get together with my accountant. But it's been a slow year, only about 11% increase. So on a slow year, on a weak year for me, I'm still increasing my income by more than double what I would just from an employer out of their kindness and graciousness giving me 2 to 5%. So that is the reality of the situation that middle class America is in. That is what you can do if you want to solve this problem for yourself financially. You've got to come up with guaranteed streams of income. You've got to have assets. You've got to have savings in the bank, and the only way you're going to get it done is by creating more income in your life. That's going to come through a business.